questions. Before we finish the course, we have one more talk. Raul felt he had a little bit too little time to demonstrate how you can utilize models in biology and in system ecology. So he will take us on a very quick 45 minutes tour of that, and then afterwards, just before lunch, we will rush through some scripts which he has prepared for you. So I hope you brought your laptops. Just wait, we don't need them right now, but you might need them.
This relates to, really, we try to think about models that are relevant for this workshop. So what we did was to essentially relate to what Alison Ford was saying, and think how can we model, how can we devise any theoretical understanding of how we can boost your career. So essentially how to boost the career of any PhD students. And as you see, even though Alison Ford was not willing to acknowledge that, funding has a role in your future career. In fact, it so happens that that bottleneck is quite important. I mean, it's managing to get grants is quite important. So what the model is about, it's about tipping points. So we're going to do some modeling about how to tip over, essentially how to tip over your chances of getting funding from rejection to granting, to funding. And we have devised a number of models. They're really models about learning, so they're sort of pedagogical models. And we think about the setting, a 5-day setting, a workshop setting, during which you can move and tip over to a background and knowledge or an understanding of a project writing that may really help you to get funded in the future. So we thought about a number of alternatives. The one model is called the blank slate model. So we're thinking, okay, what parameters we can change or try to affect, manipulate during a 5-day workshop that will tip you over, okay, to funding, to successful funding. Okay. Now the first model we came up with was it's called the blank slate model, okay, in which we combine techniques that are usually used in when you do psychological manipulation. And the first technique, it's called waterboarding. You might have heard about it. So we expose you to a waterboarding exercise to erase any notion you have of how to write a project. Okay, so just erase that because we want to infuse you through what we can call a brainwashing activity. We want to infuse you with what we think are the right ways to write a project. Okay? So we think we have the answer as to how to get funded, and through a brainwashing, evasion and then brainwashing technique, we should achieve that goal. But then we realize that there are drawbacks in this model. One of the drawbacks is that it may reduce creativity. So the creative part might be constrained by these diseases. So we will move on to the next model, which we call fear. And the fear model, it's also a potential model to tip you off. And it's a model with hysteresis, and it's a model hysteria, you would say, so hysterical fear. And the problem with the fear essentially is to infuse fear of the evaluation panel and the granting agency. So we want you to be terrified by those institutions and those panels. Now we try during this session today. We try to frighten you a bit with these panels, but we can do better. So during 5 days, I think a 5 days exercise, we start by affecting your self-confidence. We want to reduce your self-confidence and essentially start, to infuse in some sense that maybe I should worry about this reviewing process. I should start worrying about my applications. Yes. And through the process, within 5 days, we are sure we are going to instill so much fear and so much terror that whenever you're told now you have to apply, you're going to do such an effort to manage to send something reasonable that maybe it will help you. Again, there are drawbacks. One drawback is that creativity is not necessarily being boosted by this type of techniques. In fact, fear often affects creativity in a negative way. The other problem is, again, the self-confidence. We don't want to affect your self-confidence on the long term. I mean, it should be related to the applications. And by possibly combining fear with another model, we thought of booze as the last model we were thinking about, we might manage to fix things. The booze model involves as you might imagine. I mean, it involves exposure to drinks or different sorts, but to cocktails or whatever you like. I mean, alcohol essentially, and large amount of alcohol might, in some occasions, help to boost creativity. Someone, colleagues of mine, mentioned that when they are in a social setting together with other peers and friends, and they drink something, they tend to boost their creativity. And the other thing is that while you drink, at least the self-confidence increases, you dare to jump on the dance floor and do things, and that will help you also to expose your ideas to your colleagues and write a successful grant.
Raul,
There is a drawback.
did you discuss other chemical substances as well?
Booze was the last in the, there are others.
Okay.
We could have included others. We thought that with booze at least we illustrate our case, and we want to, in a way, we want to say, okay, creativity and self-confidence, they should be boosted by this. There is the drawback of addiction. So on the long run, on the long term, as you send through your careers multiple applications, and as the number of applications increase, the number of grants increase, probably alcohol addiction might be a possible outcome, and that's something we wouldn't want to obtain. So in the end, we are left with one model, and that's the model that the Nike would call it the Just Do It model. But essentially, it's the learning by doing type of modeling of this tipping off or learning, abrupt learning curves. And this experience of doing something that I have nothing to do with it. It's Stig's ideas and the other who have organized the workshop. It's really effective. It turns out that it's an effective thing. You do the work. The staff just sits down and can evaluate and relax. We have a terrific time. We see that you struggle and you are forced to expose yourself to the strangest criteria. There are criteria about, well, outreach may be okay, but there are things about feasibility that are completely, and for once at least, you are forced to think clearly about these things, okay? And this learning by doing might be the way on. So we integrated this learning by doing model in an application.
Well, what I will do now, I will go through an application that we have suggested. We've written a presentation for an application. And we would very much like you to keep in mind the evaluation criteria that we evaluated you on. And you can evaluate us afterwards based on those criteria. The objectives for this proposal is, of course, to teach students to write successful proposals and increase above this level of 100% failure rate. The method that we have chosen for such a project is to gather 30 PhD students or postdocs for a 5-day workshop in Svolvær, and have it sort of back-to-back with an existing conference in Tromsø, which is the Arctic Frontiers. If some of you think this sounds familiar to something you know about, then it's not. It's all new ideas. And then have a brainstorm and transfer our vast or waste knowledge onto you poor souls. The budget that we have, we've made a budget for this. We said 30 PhD students. We thought, well, let's just find 5 of them. And based on the budgets that we've seen, we realized that PhD students are very inexpensive. So 20 kroner a day should be sufficient. So 500 for PhD students. Of course, we need first-class cabins on board. We need medication against sleeping during lectures. That's quite expensive. We want to bring a 5-star chef. Outreach, 100 crowns should do the trick. And then we have some in-kind contribution from Stig. He will do the washing up on the budget for this application is 225,600 approximately. Relevant for society, that's important for all projects. We want to make students stop nagging us about funding. Get your own funding. and show PhD students a lavish lifestyle that researchers generally enjoy. It's first class, 5-star chefs and so on. And this is mainly for Norwegian students. Reduce the NAV participation. Outreach. Many of you you didn't take that very serious. We think outreach is very, very important. And as you remember for the budget, we have set aside a significant amount of money to do outreach here. And we're going to do this in a two-step process. First, we're going to take all participants of the workshop up on the upper deck outside. Then Matthias, without age, will direct the stretching session. And so the idea here is that outdoor outreach. Project managing. We have a natural candidate for the project leader, of course. And after that, we've been inspired by the sort of ideas that we come up with. So we think we're going to have a flat structure that sort of increase debates, and we think it's a rational way of doing things. But we're going to have a science director, of course, in this flat structure. We're going to have someone responsible for housing in Svolvær. We will have someone take care of the logistics while we are away. And of course, business. Natural candidate for the business part. And psychology, there might be some incidents, we might need some psychological. But in practice, we assume that Stig will ask Matthias to fix everything. I think that's where we stop, but based on such a setup, we of course then going to implement the 4 models that Raul has been talking about. And we are particularly keen on the first one, at least personally. I think waterboarding has potential. Okay.
So do you have any questions for us about this?
Is it feasibility?
Questions?
You're aware that this has been done many years, this has been done many times, and
Yeah,
it
but we
hasn't
don't
really
care.
shown a lot of success.
We believe that we are so brilliant that we don't really engage in what other people have been doing.
Does your acronym refer to the quality of the end product?
Yeah, basically.